3, 2, 1.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is Honorable Babu Owino, and today I'm Teacher Babu Owino. First, I would like to wish fellow Kenyans a happy Labor Day. Secondly, I would like to urge Kenyans to adhere to the COVID rules so that we can mitigate the infection of coronavirus 2019. Thirdly, I would like to take this opportunity to apologize on behalf of all those students, all those learners who are not in a position to access internet or not in a position to get smartphones so that they can follow my tutorials. Now, today's class, back to class. Today's class we have mathematics, and I would like to tell learners that mathematics is the easiest subject on earth. And with mathematics, we make it simpler. We solve, we find the solutions to the various challenges that is in maths. We are going to handle various topics. That is questions on differentiation, questions on trigonometry, questions on surds, questions on further logarithms, questions on algebraic expressions, and finally, questions on calculus, and basically we'll handle integration. I hope you will enjoy today as my students. Number one, we have differentiation. Question number one. Find the derivative of y equals to 3x minus 2x squared multiplied by 5 plus 4x. The first thing when you are faced with such a challenge in finding the derivative, you first of all expand the bracket. So by expanding the bracket, we have y is equal to, we take the value on this side, which is 3x, multiply by the value on the other side, which is 5 plus 4x, minus 2x squared, sorry, into 5 plus 4x. Then we expand it, y is equal to 3x times 5 is 15x. 3x times 4x, we get 12x squared. X times x is x squared. 3 times 4 is 12. That's 12x squared minus 2x squared times 5. Minus 2x squared times 5 is minus 10x squared. Then minus 2x squared times plus 4x. We get 2 times 4 is 8, that is minus 8. Then x times x squared times x is x cubed. Now there's a fundamental rule that you'll just note. When you have positive multiplied by negative, you get negative. Positive multiplied by positive, you get positive. Then negative multiplied by negative, you get positive. That's why when we have minus 2x squared times plus 4x, you get minus 8x cubed. Now, our y becomes, you simplify further by collecting the two like terms. So this one we have 15x plus 12x squared minus 10x squared is 2x squared minus 8x cubed. So this is our simplified value for y. Then we are advised to find the derivative. That is differentiation. Differentiation is the gradient function. Now we are going to get y, value of y, with respect to x. That is dy dx. This is now what we call differentiation. Now when we want to differentiate, we'll differentiate every part that we have here. So we'll first of all start by differentiating 15x. So in differentiating 15x, we have 15x, then x is raised to power 1, you subtract 1. Then plus 2x squared differentiated, you drop down the power 2, then you multiply by the constant 2, then we have x, then 2, you subtract 1. Minus, drop down power 3, multiply by 8, x cubed, you subtract 1. So dy dx equals to 15x raised to power 0, 1 minus 1 is 0, plus 2 times 2 is 4x, 2 minus 1 is 1, minus 3 times 8 is 24, x, 3 minus 1 is 2. So from here, we have dy dx equals to any number raised to power 0 equals to 1, or any letter raised to power 0 equals to 1. Therefore, x raised to power 0 equals to 1. So this is 15 times 1 is 15 plus 4x minus 24x squared. This is our answer. Proceeding to part B of the question. Part B of the question is a diver leaps from a diving board 34 meters above the surface of a swimming pool. So if this is the surface of a swimming pool, then the diver leaps. A diver leaps from a diving board 32 meters above the surface of a swimming pool at time t seconds. His position h above the surface of the swimming pool is given by h equals to 32 plus 16t minus 16t squared. Now the first part of this question wants, find the time he took to hit the surface of the water. Find the time he took to hit the water surface. So when the diver dives from here, hits the water surface. If this is water, if the diver hits the water surface, at the water surface, height is 0 at this surface. Therefore, if they want the time taken for the diver to hit the water surface, we replace the height with 0. So here is 0 equals to 32 plus 16t minus 16t squared. With this equation, we can simplify it further because we have a common value here, 16. So we divide by 16. 0 divided by 16 is 0 equals to 32 divided by 16 is 2 plus 16t divided by 16 is t minus 16 divided by 16 is t. 16t squared divided by 16 is t squared. So from here, we can multiply all the values by -1 so that at least we start our equation by the highest value of t, which is t squared. So when you multiply this by -1, you get t squared. You multiply -1 times t, you get minus t. Then -1 times 2, you get -2 equals to 0. So with our value here, we factorize this value. This is a quadratic expression. So in factorizing the quadratic expression, we look for two numbers that when you multiply gives you -2. But when you add the two numbers, gives you -1 or -1t, -1. So the numbers are 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and -2. So here in factorizing, we have t squared plus t minus 2t minus 2 equals to 0. Then we have this and we have that first part of the equation, second part of the equation. We factor t out because t is common in the first part. Therefore, t into t squared, you get t. T into t, you get plus 1 minus, the common factor here is 2, into 2 into 2t is t. Then 2 into minus 2 into minus 2 is plus 1 equals to 0. Because we have in our bracket, you can see clearly we have a common factor of t plus 1. So we are going to collect the common factor of t plus 1, and then you pick t minus 2, you equate to 0. So t plus 1 equals to 0, and t minus 2 equals to 0. Therefore, t here equals to 2. When 2 crosses the other side becomes 2. Becomes, when negative 2 crosses, becomes positive 2. And here, when positive 1 crosses the other side, becomes negative 1. So we have t is equal to negative 1 and we have t is equal to 2. Both are in seconds. But we can see one of the values is negative 1. So time cannot be negative. Therefore, this is not practical. So time cannot be negative, cannot be equal to. This means not equal to negative. So we go with the value of t equals to 2. But you write the SI units of time is in seconds. So that is the first part of the equation. That is the time he took to hit the water surface. So at the water surface, the time is 2 seconds. Then the next part of the equation is find the velocity at which he hit the water surface. So I want you to get this in mind as time is equal to 2 seconds. So we want to find the velocity at which he hit the water surface. From our initial equation, h is equal to 32 plus 16t minus 16t squared. Velocity is given by change in displacement. This sign means change. Change in displacement divided by change in time. So when we want to get the velocity here, change in velocity, change in displacement over change in time. We have displacement or the height as h. So when our height is h, we just differentiate h with respect to t. So that is dh dt is equal to, when you differentiate, is equal to the velocity. So when you differentiate 32, you get 0. Plus, when you differentiate, you get 0. Plus, when you differentiate 16t, you drop 1 down. That is 1 into 16. You multiply by the constant. Then t, 1 minus 1. Minus, you drop 2 down. That is 2 into 16. T into 2 minus 1. You subtract 1. Now, dh dt, which is our velocity, equals to, this is 16t raised to power 0 minus 32t raised to power 1, which is still the same as 32t. Therefore, our velocity is equal to any numbers I told you earlier, or any letter raised to power 0 is 1. Therefore, velocity is 16 minus 32t. But the question is telling us, you find the value of this velocity, the value of this velocity when at which he hit the water surface. But we remember that at the water surface, the time taken to hit the water surface were 2 seconds. So t is equal to 2 seconds. So where there is t, you replace with 2. So therefore, velocity is equal to 16 minus 32 times 2 seconds. You get 16 minus 64. So velocity is equal to minus 48. 16 minus 64 is minus 48 meters per second. But because it is negative, you write your answer as velocity equals to 48 meters per second. Retardation. It was retardation. To take care of the negative, because he was slowing as he was going down. He was not, the velocity wasn't increasing. So it's retardation. Now, we proceed to our next question, question number 2. The displacement from a fixed point of a particle in motion at any time t seconds is given by, displacement s is given by t cubed minus 5 over 2 t squared plus 2t plus 5. The value is in meters. Find its acceleration after t seconds. Find acceleration after t seconds. Acceleration is given by change in velocity from the mathematical formulas divided by change in time. But velocity, we saw earlier also, is given by change in displacement divided by change in time. Therefore, for us to get acceleration, we will have to get velocity first. We have to get velocity first. So for us to get velocity when we are given displacement s, we differentiate. We differentiate s with respect to t. Therefore, we will have the s dt, which will give us the velocity. So the velocity becomes, when you differentiate t cubed, you bring 3 down into t, then 3 minus 1, minus, bring 2 down, that is 2 into 5 divided by 2, t into 2 minus 1, plus 2t 1 minus 1. When you differentiate any number, you get 0, plus 0. Therefore, we have ds dt, which is our velocity, equals to 3t squared. 3 minus 2 is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. Minus 2 can cancel with 2. You get 5. T raised to power 1, which is 5t. Plus 2t raised to power 0. T raised to power 0 is 1. Therefore, 1 times 2 is 2. So this is our velocity. Now, we know our velocity is 3t squared minus 5t plus 2. We want to find the acceleration. And we said acceleration is change in velocity divided by change in time. Therefore, for us to get the acceleration, we are going to further differentiate the velocity, which will give us dv dt. So this gives us the acceleration, equals to, further differentiate this, you bring 2 down, multiply by 3, then t squared minus 1, minus 5 into t1 minus 1. This is 0. So our acceleration equals to 6t minus, this is 6t raised to power 1, which is 60, minus 5t raised to power 0 is 5, because we say that t raised to power 0 is 1. So this is our acceleration. But what is the question saying? Find the acceleration after t seconds, because the question is not specific within which time. Therefore, we just say the acceleration is given by 60 minus 5, but the units is very important. The SI unit of acceleration is meters per second squared. Meters per second, which is meters per second squared. The part B of the question says that find the velocity when acceleration is 0. When acceleration is 0, where is our acceleration? This is our acceleration, the equation. So at this point, when acceleration is 0, we have 60 minus 5. We want to find the value of t. T is equal to, when 5 crosses the other side becomes positive, 60 is equal to 5. This gives us t, value of t, as 5 over 6 seconds. But this is t, although the question wants velocity when acceleration is 0. Therefore, velocity from our question is here. Let me come here. Velocity from our equation is here, 3t squared minus 5t plus 2. From here, velocity is equal to 3, but the value of our t is 5 divided by 6. It's squared, minus 5 into 5 divided by 6 plus 2. So from here, our velocity equals to 3. 5 divided by 6. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. Minus 5 times 5 is 25 over 6 plus 2. So velocity is equal to 3 goes here once, 3 goes here 12 times. So we have 25 over 12 minus 25 over 6 plus 2 over 1. You can either use a calculator to solve this or get the LCM of 12, 6 and 1. Least common multiple, which is 12. 12 goes into 12 once times 25 is 25 minus 12 into 6 into 12 twice times 25 is 50 plus 1 goes into 12 times 2 is 24. When you simplify this, velocity is equal to 25 plus 24 is 49 minus 50 divided by 12. So velocity is equal to minus 1 over 12 meters per second. And remember, I told you when the velocity is negative, it means that the body is retardating. So you write velocity is 1 over 12 meters per second, but you write retardation. So we are done with the questions on differentiation. Our next question is on trigonometry. So question number 3. Trigonometry, we are told to solve the equation sine of 2 theta plus 10 equals to negative 0.5. But we are further advised for the values of theta less than 0, less than or equal to 0, and not greater than 2 pi radians. This sign means pi radians. So we want to find the values of theta. Number 1, find an angle whose sine is 0.5. Find an angle whose sine is 0.5. So which angle is that? From your 4-figure elementary mathematical table, if you can get an angle from the calculator, the angle whose sine is 0.5, that angle is 30 degrees. Therefore, the first thing we do is to identify all the quadrants where that angle lies. But remember, we have negative here. So when we draw the quadrants, we say all, when I was in my Form 4, I used to remember it as all Christians terrorizing Satan. Or all students take coffee. Not changa, don't put here as changa. So this angle is 0 degrees, this is 90 degrees, this angle is 180 degrees, this angle is 270 degrees, and this angle again is 360 degrees. So this quadrant circle, we want to find an angle, all the quadrants where the sine is negative. So in quadrant number 1, this is all angles. This one is sine, this is tangent, this is cosine. So all angles in the first quadrant, all trigonometric functions in first quadrant, they are all positive. Sine is only positive in the second quadrant, tangent is positive in third, cosine is positive in fourth. But sine is positive only in the first and the second quadrant, although it is negative in the third and the fourth quadrant. So our angle 30 degrees lies somewhere here. So if our angle is lying here 30 degrees, we cannot write it as 30 degrees because 30 degrees is only positive in the first quadrant. Therefore, in the third quadrant, we will make a half a rotation to reach where that 30 is, half plus 30 degrees. So when you make a half a rotation, that is 180 degrees plus 30, you get 210 degrees. Therefore, 2 theta plus 10, our first angle is 180 plus 30, which is 210. Our second angle, if we say that sine, if the angle is 30 degrees, what is the value of this angle? That is 360 minus 30 degrees. You get 330 degrees. Then something interesting, you make one complete rotation. Then you add it to the available angles, so that we get all the angles, because we've been told that our theta is greater than 0 but less than 2 pi radians. So when you take 360 and you add 210, you get 570, which is another angle. And then you add 360 here, you get 690, which is our other angle. These are in degrees. Therefore, when we open this, we get 2 theta equals to, when 10 crosses the other side, becomes 200, because it is 210 minus 10. 330 minus 10 is 320. 570 minus 10 is 560. And finally, 690 minus 10 is 680. They are in degrees. Therefore, theta is equal to, divide everything by 2, 2 into 200, 100 degrees. 2 into 320 is 160 degrees. 2 into 560 is 280 degrees. And 2 into 680 is 340 degrees. These are the answers. But remember, we are told to write our answers in pi radians. Common rule in maths, 1 pi radian equals to 180 degrees. When you move from 0 to 180 degrees, you've made a pi radian. Therefore, we want to convert this. If 180 degrees equals to pi radians, what about all these angles? What about 100? What about 160? What about 280? What about 340 degrees? So you realize that we'll be multiplying 100 times pi, divide by 180. 160 times pi radians, divide by 180. 280 times pi radians, divide by 180. 340 times pi radians, divide by 180. So we divide all these angles by 180. So we'll have 100 divided by 180, 160 divided by 180, 280 divided by 180, and finally 340 divided by 180. They're in degrees. So when we simplify this further, 2 here 5, 2 here 9. So you get 5 over 9 pi, 2 here 8, 2 here 9. 8 over 9 pi radians, 2 here 9, 2 here 14. 14 over 9 pi radians, 2 here 9, 2 here 17. 17 over 9 pi radians. So this is our final answer, which is in the range of theta being greater than 0, but being less than 2 pi radians. So you leave your answer in pi radians. So we can proceed to the next question. If I were to mark this just a little bit, assuming that I'm an examiner also, my first question I would give you for identifying that angle as a method 1. My first method 1. Number 2, I would reward you for getting all the angles, which is method 2. Number 3, I would reward you for the conversion, the process of converting, which is method 3. And then finally, answer 1. So in this question, you would harvest 4 marks. So learners, candidates, you can see maths is like eating yams. It's very easy. Very easy, just like reciting vowels or snatching a lollipop from a baby. We proceed to our next question. Still on trigonometry. Question number 4. We are told to solve the equation 4 sine x equals to 5 minus 4 cos cos squared x. But we are told for angles between 0 degrees, x is less than or equal to 0 degrees, and the same x is greater than or equal to 0 degrees, and the same x is less than or equal to 360 degrees. When you meet such a question, first of all, you smile, because it's an easy solve. The first thing you do, you are going to use trigonometric identities. Again, it's in your 4-figure mathematical tables. So the identity that we are going to use here is cosine squared x plus sine squared x equals to 1. Why are we introducing the identity? Because we have two different unknowns. We have cosine and we have cosine and we have sine. So we want to make them uniform by replacing cos squared x with the value of sine x. Therefore, from this, you can easily say that cos squared x equals to 1 when sine squared x crosses the other side becomes minus sine squared x. Therefore, from our initial equation, replace cos squared x with 1 minus sine squared x. So we have 4 sine x equals to 5 here, minus 4 into the value of cos squared x, we've said here is 1 minus sine squared x. Then we open it. We open the brackets, we expand it. That is 4 sine x equals to 5 minus 4 times 1 is minus 4. Then minus 4 times minus sine squared x is plus 4 sine squared x. Remember I told you minus times minus is plus. Then from here we can collect the like terms together. So we have we have this side. If 4 sine x crosses the other side, it becomes 0 equals to 5 minus 4 is 1 plus this is 4 sine squared x. Then remember we've brought this on the other side, so when it crosses the equal sign, it becomes a negative 4 sine x. So when we rearrange this mathematically, just to make it look neat, you say 4 sine squared x minus 4 sine x plus 1 equals to 0. Then this we will let sine x equals to y. We want to further simplify this. Therefore, 4 times sine squared x is sine x times sine x. When you multiply sine x is y, you replace with y, times again sine x, which is y, minus 4 sine x, which is y, plus 1 equals to 0. This gives us 4y times y is y squared, minus 4 times y is 4y, plus 1 equals to 0. Now, this is a quadratic equation. We just factorize this. So look for two numbers again. When you multiply them, gives you 4 times 1, which is 4. When you multiply the two numbers, let's say a times b gives you 4. And when you add them, gives you negative 4. So the two numbers here are negative 2 and negative 2. Therefore, when you expand this, when you factorize this, becomes 4y squared minus 2y plus 1 equals to 0. Then we collect the like terms. What is common here is 2y. So 2y into 2y goes into 4y squared. 2 goes into 4 times 4, 2 times. Then y goes into y squared, y times, minus 2 goes into 2y once. Close the bracket. What is common here is 1 minus 1. So we put minus 1. Minus 1 goes into minus 2y, 2y times. Then minus 1 goes into plus 1 minus 1 equals to 0. So we have this and this being common. So we collect them together, 2y minus 1. And again take this. When they are common, you only pick one. 2y minus 1. Then again, you take 2y here. Then with this minus 1, you equate to 0. So in our case, 2y minus 1 equals to 0. And again, 2y minus 1 equals to 0. So it's the same. So therefore, 2y minus 1 equals to 0. From here, you say 2y equals to, when 1 crosses the other side, becomes 1. Therefore, y equals to a half. You divide everything by 2 by 2. So y is equal to a half. Remember, we said sine x to be equal to y. Therefore, at sine x, you replace it with a half. So you write sine x equals to a half. So we say sine x equals to a half. We look for an angle whose sine equals to a half. Which angle is that? From the book or from the calculator, from the mathematical book or from the calculator? That angle is 30 degrees. Therefore, you come again and write, you draw the quadrant circle. In the circle, we said all Christians, say with me, terrorizing Satan. So the angle is 30 degrees. But this time round, it's positive. When it's positive, sine is in the second quadrant. So sine is positive in the first quadrant and in the second quadrant only. But it's negative here and negative here. Therefore, in the first quadrant, theta equals to 30 degrees. But in the second quadrant, if we have our 30 degrees here, what will be the remaining angle here? Is 180 minus 30, which is 150 degrees. Then suppose we want to make one full rotation. We add 360 here. You'll get 390. And then add 360 here. You'll get 510. You'll get 510. But remember, we were told to give our answer that theta is greater than or equal to 0 and is less than or equal to 360 degrees. Therefore, we restrict our answer to be within these limits. So 390 is out of the limit and 510 is out of the limit. So our theta equals to 30 degrees and our theta equals to 150 degrees. As easy as this. Our next question is on SADS. We are told that's question number 5. Huh? Question 5. We are told to simplify 1 plus root 3 into 1 minus root 3. This is SADS. 1 plus root 3 into 1 minus root 3. 1 minus root 3, these SADS are conjugate of one another. Therefore, you just expand it. When you expand it, you write 1 into 1 minus root 3 plus root 3 into 1 minus root 3. 1 times 1 is 1 minus 1 times root 3 is root 3 plus root 3 times 1 is root 3. Then plus times minus is minus. Root 3 times root 3, just multiply what's inside the roots. That is root 9. Therefore, 1 minus root 3 plus 3 is 0. It's the same as 3 minus root 3 minus root 3, which is 0 minus root 9. 1 minus root 9 is 3. You get 1 minus 3 is minus 2. Then you are told to simplify this and hence evaluate. Evaluate 1 divided by 1 plus root 3. So when you are told to evaluate this, number 1, rationalize the denominator by multiplying this value with its conjugate. So when you multiply this with its conjugate, you multiply by, the conjugate is just the same value, but the sign changed. So it is you multiply by 1 minus root 3. Then the denominator is also 1 minus root 3. So the numerator we have 1 minus root 3. But remember, 1 plus root 3 into 1 minus root 3 is the same as 1 plus root 3 into 1 minus root 3. And when we solved it, we got minus 2. So you divide this value by minus 2. So hence evaluate to 3 significant figures. Given that root 3, we've also been given that root 3 equals to 1.7321. So you only replace, where there is root 3, you replace 1.7321. So where there is root 3, we have 1 minus root 3 is 1.7321. Divide by minus 2. 1, solve the numerator alone. 1 minus 1.7321, you get minus 0.7321. Divide by minus 2. This goes with that. Therefore, we divide this. Use a calculator, or we can just divide 0 here, 0.02 goes into 7 3 times, which is 6, remainder 1 into 13 6 times, which is 12. 12, remainder 1 into 12 6 times, into 1 0 5. So they want us to get our value to 3 significant figures. So you stand here from where there is the decimal point, you count 1 2 3. Where 3 is, that is our answer, 0.366. Suppose they wanted to 4 significant figures. This is our answer. We are done with it. Suppose they wanted this answer to 4 significant figures. Then you move 1, 2, 3, 4. So when 4 is there, you look at the next number. When the next number is 5 or more than 5, then it adds a value to 0. The value that it adds is only 1. So the answer becomes 0.3661. This is to 4 significant figures. This is to 3 significant figures. Oh, sorry. My board has been scared of the mathematics I'm solving, so it's okay. Okay, so we proceed. The next question is that is question number 6. No, that's part 2 of the other question number 6. Simplify the expression root 3 minus root 2 divide by root 3 plus root 2. So when you are told to simplify this expression, do not panic. Just multiply the whole of this expression by the conjugate, multiply the denominator by the conjugate of this value. You multiply this value with its conjugate. And we said when you want to get a conjugate, you just change the sign. So here becomes root 3 minus root 2 divided by root 3 plus root 2. But you multiply by the conjugate, which is root 3 minus root 2. But you multiply it, the denominator and the numerator. So numerator also multiply by root 3 minus root 2. Then you expand this. In expanding this, we have root 3 times what's on the other side of the bracket. Root 3 into root 3 minus root 2 here. Then again this minus root 2 into, root 3 minus root 2. Then you divide by, this also you expand. You have root 3 multiply by what's on the other side of the bracket, which is root 3 minus root 2, plus root 2 into root 3 minus root 2. Root 3 times root 3 is root 9. Root 3 times minus root 2 is minus root 6. Just multiply what's inside the roots. Then root 2 times minus root 2 times root 3. Multiply what's in the roots, you get minus root 6. Then minus root 2 times minus root 2. You get plus. Minus times minus is plus. Root 4. Then you divide it by root 3 times root 3 is root 9. Root 3 times minus root 2 is minus root 6. Root 2 times root 3 is plus root 6. Then plus root 2 times minus root 2 is minus root 4. What do we get from here? Root 9 is 3. Minus root 6 minus root 6 is minus 2 root 6. You just pick the coefficient here, which is 1 and 1. Add the 1s, then maintain root 6. Then plus root 4. Root 4, square root of 4 is 2. Divide by root 9 is 3. Square root of 3 of 9 is 3. Then minus root 6 plus root 6 is the same as root 6 minus 6, which is 0. So we don't write the 0. Then we have minus root 4. Root 4 is 2, so it is minus 2. So from here, we have 3 plus 2. You get 5 minus 2 root 6. Divide by 3 minus 2 is 1. So we have 5 minus 2 root 6. This is our answer. But remember, we've been advised to write our answer in the form of a plus b root c. Sorry, root c. So our value of a, you can see a plus b root c. So our value of a, you just write a is 5. Tell the examiner that you know. Then b is minus 2. And then c is 6. So you finish, we finished with the subs. The next question is further logarithms. So that's question number 7. Question number 8. Question number 7. Further logarithms. Without using a calculator or a mathematical table, solve log x plus 5 to base 8 minus log x minus 3 to base 8 equals to log 4 to base 8. So when you are faced with such a challenge, number 1, you identify if the logarithms have the same bases. Here they have the same basis, which is base 8. Number 2, if they have the same basis, you collect the logs to the bases, to the same bases on one side. So you write log to base 8 into, write the value of the first value you are given, x plus 5. Then look at this sign. If it is minus in logarithm, when you collect logs to the same bases, you change it to be division. You divide by x minus 3 equals to log 4 to base 8. Then in mathematics, automatically the logs to the same bases will drop. Don't cancel them. Mathematically, if you cancel, it is not correct. So you don't say you divide by log to base 8, divide by log to base 8. You just drop them. When you drop them, you remain with x plus 5 divided by x minus 3 equals to 4, because these are the same. Therefore, you cross multiply both sides by x minus 3. This side also by x minus 3. So when you multiply this by x minus 3 and x minus 3 will cancel. You remain with x plus 5 equals to 4 into x minus 3. From here we have x plus 5 equals to 4 times x is 4x. 4 times minus 3 is minus 12. Collect the like terms together. 5, if 5 is on this side, so you want to bring 12 on this side, it will become plus, because it is minus 12 becomes plus 12 equals to 4x. Then bring x on the other side becomes minus x. Therefore, this equation can also be rewritten as 4x minus x equals to 5 plus 12. So this is 3x. 4x minus x is 3x equals to 5 plus 12 is 17. Therefore, x is equal to 17 divided by 3. That is the value of x. We've finished it because they wanted us to solve it without using a calculator. So they want the value of x from this equation, which is 17 over 3. We go to the next question. And the next question, number 8, we have two, you are told to evaluate without using mathematical tables or calculators. So you are told to evaluate 2 log 5 to base 10 minus a half log 64 to base 10 plus 2 log 40 to base 10. Remember, this is evaluate, not solve. You solve only when it is equated to something. But when you are told to evaluate, is as equal as simplify. This time round, I told you the first thing to check is to check the bases. The first question we dealt with the logs to base 8. Now we are dealing with logs to base 10. Number 1, ensure that these coefficients, the constant values, you rewrite it in such a way that it goes back to its original value. So how was it before it became to this value? It was log 5, then you just bring 2 up, it becomes a power. Log 5 raised to power 2, to base 10 you maintain the base, minus this one becomes log 64 raised to power a half to base 10, plus this becomes log 40 to base 10 raised to power 2. Then again I told you, you collect the logs together, collect the logarithms together. So when we collect this, we will have log to base 10 only outside the bracket. Then 5 squared. 5 squared is 25. But I had told you that when you see a minus sign because you've collected logs to base 10, you divide by 64 raised to power a half. A number raised to power half is the same as finding the square root of that number. A number raised to power third is the same as finding a cube root of that number. A number raised to power quarter is the same as finding the fourth root of that number. So therefore this becomes 64 raised to power half times, because of plus, this becomes 40 squared. 40 squared is 1600 from the calculator. Therefore, this becomes log to base 10 into 25 divided by the square root of 64 is 8 times, this is 1600. So 8 here once, 8 here 200. So here we have log to base 10, 25 times 200 is 5000. So we have log 5000 to base 10. We can further simplify this. You can see that this is the same as log to base 10 into 5000 can be written as 1000 times 5. When you split this, when you open it up, it's like you are going up to the initial relationship that we had. I told you when you see negative minus, you divide. When you see plus, you multiply. So when you see multiplication, you add. So you can equally add this to be log to base 10 over 1000 plus, because of this, log 5 to base 10. Then here, if we further simplify, 1,000 is 10 raised to power 3. When you want to get 1,000, you put 10 here. 10 into 1,000, 100. 10 into 100, 10 times. 10 into 10, once. So this is 10 times 10 times 10. 10 times 10 times 10. Raised to power 1, power 1, power 1. You only take 1 as the base, then you add the powers. 1 plus 1 plus 1. So this is 10 to power 3. So this is log of 10 to power 3 to base 10 plus log of 5 to base 10. So log 10 to power 3, you can drop this 3 down. It becomes 3 log 10 to base 10 plus log 5 to base 10. Any log to its base. Log 1 to base 1 is 1. Log 2 to base 2 is 1. Log 10 to base 10 is 1. So log 10 to base 10, log 10 to base 10 is 1. Therefore, you replace log 10 to base 10 with 1. 3 times 1 is 3 plus log 5 to base 10. That is the simplified form of this equation. So you see the way it was long, and you see we can just get it as this value. 3 plus log 5 to base 10. We've finished with the logarithms. We go to algebraic expressions. Question number 9. P squared minus 4mc divided by 2m squared minus 7mp plus 3p squared. So when we are solving this algebraic expression, you look at the numerator and then you look at the denominator. We can see the numerator is a difference of two squares. A difference of two squares means a squared minus b squared, which can be written as a plus b into a minus b. Therefore, p squared minus 4m squared, you can see it is p squared minus 4 can be written as 2 raised to power 2 m raised to power 2. So when you simplify this with the difference of two squares, you just write p minus 2m into p plus 2m. A squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b into a minus b. Therefore, if you have p squared minus 2 squared m squared can be written as, you just collect p with 2m, then there's a square, there's a difference of two squares. You square it, but you pick it, but with the sign changed. That is p plus 2m. So this is the numerator. Then we go to the denominator. At the denominator, we have 2m squared minus 7mp plus 3p squared. This is a quadratic equation, and we solve it quadratically just by factorizing. Look for two numbers that when you multiply gives you 2m squared 2m times 3p. So when you multiply them, gives you 6mp. When you multiply the two numbers, gives you 6mp. But when you add the same two numbers, gives you, when you add the same two numbers, let the numbers be a and b. When you add the same numbers, gives you minus 7mp. So when we get two numbers that when we multiply gives you 6, when you add gives you minus 7. The numbers are minus 1 and minus 6. You come back here, but now because we have mp, we'll just replace mp. So we have 2m squared minus mp, which is represented by minus 1, then minus 6mp, which is represented by this minus 6, plus 3p squared. Then you simplify this by just collecting the like terms. So 2m squared, okay, simplify this side of the equation and this side of the equation. So what is common in these two is m into m goes into 2m squared 2m times minus m goes into mp p times. Then what is common between these two is minus 3p. P is here, p is here, 3 is here, and 6 is here. So 3 can go into 6. So what is common on this side is 3p. So 3p goes into 6mp 2m times. When you open this, gives you 6mp. Minus times plus, I said, is minus. 3p goes into 3p squared how many times? P times. Therefore, as you can see in our brackets, we have 2m minus p, again 2m minus p. So you just collect them together, 2m minus p, use 1, into, take this m, then take this minus 3p. This is the denominator. So remember our numerator is this, which is p plus 2m, p plus 2m, divided by our denominator is 2m minus p into m minus 3p. So from this, we want to simplify this further. So how do we simplify it? We have p plus 2m, but here we have 2m minus p. So we can make this be equal to this by simply multiplying the upper part of the equation by negative 1. So when you open this, the downer part, the downer part by negative 1. So when you open this, you will get p plus 2m divided by 2m plus p into m minus 3p. So 2m plus p and 2m plus p cancel. So here you remain with 1 divided by m minus 3p. Then remember, we have minus here. This was a difference of 2 squares, sorry. That is why I was not seeing it coming out. So this is also p plus 2m, and then this is p minus 2m. Now that's okay. So here we have p minus 2m. So remember, we still have a negative. So let me just take you back a little bit because I've introduced a negative here. So from here, just get me from here, p plus 2m, which is here p plus 2m, then p minus 2m, which is this part of the value. I only took one part, sorry for that. So we take both of them. That is p plus 2m. We start, just forget about this. So we start from here. P plus 2m into p minus 2m divided by 2m minus p into m minus 3p. So you can clearly see from here, we have p plus 2m into p minus 2m divided by 2m minus p into m minus 3p. So introduce the negative so that at least this becomes a factor of one of this. So when you introduce a negative at the top, you will get, multiply this by the negative, you will get 2m minus p. Minus times minus 2m is 2m. Then minus times p is minus p. Into bracket, this value is p plus 2m divided by 2m minus p into m minus 3p. Remember, we have negative here. So 2m minus p over 2m minus p, this and this cancel. So here you remain with p plus 2m divided by m minus 3p. So if you have a negative here, we can divide this by negative. Here now you will get, just follow me here, we're almost finishing it. When you multiply this by a negative, you get 3p. The denominator is 3p plus m. 3p minus m. Sorry. 3p minus m. Then the numerator becomes p plus 2m. You can see the way these letters is playing around. It's just a matter of the signs, how you place the signs. That is what is very important. So you be careful when you solve such mathematics. Number one, if you know what to do, the difference of two squares and solving the quadratic expression. The most important thing you do in such mathematics is to observe, check the signs keenly, how you place the signs. So we finished that. Question 10. 3z squared minus 12 divided by 3 minus 1 plus z. So remember I told you, you observe the difference of two squares. Simplify. So here we can see 3z squared minus 12. What is common between 3 and 12 is 3. So you can simplify this by saying 3 into z squared minus 3 goes into 12 4 times, divide by 3 minus, when 3 minus into 1 plus z. So from here we have 3 into z squared. Then minus 4 can be written as minus 2 squared. Divide by, when divide by 3 minus 1 plus z. So this is the difference of 2 squared, and we say the difference of 2 squared, a squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b into a minus b. So you only replace this by saying 3 into z minus 2 into z plus 2. Divide by, when you open up this, it becomes 3 minus 1 times 1 is minus 1, minus 1 times z is minus z. So this becomes 2 minus z. So down here we have 2 minus z. Again, you can easily see that we have 3 into z minus 2 plus 3 into z minus 2 into z plus 2 divided by 2 minus z. Here we have 3 into z minus 2 into z plus 2 divided by 2 minus z. Again, there is a relationship between z minus 2 and 2 minus z, but we introduce a negative 1 at the numerator. So when you introduce a negative 1 at the numerator, we will have negative 3 into, this is z, minus 1 times 2 times minus 2 is 2. Then minus 1 times z is minus z into z plus 2. This remains. You divide by 2 minus z. So we can clearly cancel 2 minus z and 2 minus z. What do you remain with? Minus 3 into z plus 2. So when you expand this, you will have minus 3z minus 6. But you can just leave it in this form. That is the answer for this. So I want to caution you. Actually, this mathematics, you need to be very careful with the signs. Because if you miss a positive for a negative, then be automatic that you are going to get it wrong. But it's still easy. It requires a lot of keenness. Then our last question is on calculus, which is integration. Most people, they don't go well with calculus. Calculus is one of the easiest. So question number 11, you are told to integrate. This sign means integration with the limits of 5 and 2. Integrate x squared minus 3x plus 2 divided by x minus 2 with reference to dx. So before you start integration, you simplify what is in the bracket. We can see a quadratic expression. So the quadratic expression can be simplified by simply writing x squared plus x squared minus 3x plus 2 divided by x minus 2. Look for two numbers. If you multiply them, gives you positive 2. If you add them, gives you negative 3. So the two numbers are negative 1 and negative 2. When you add these two numbers, gives you negative 3, but when you multiply them, gives you positive 2. So from here, we expand it to x squared minus x minus 2x plus 2 equals, no, just that, divide by x minus 2. When you collect from both sides, you find that what is common here is x. X goes into x squared, x times, minus x goes into x once, minus what is common here, 2, into minus 2 goes into minus 2x, how many times? X times. Then minus 2 goes into plus 2 minus 1s, minus 1. What is common to these two is x plus 1, x minus 1, sorry, into, you collect this x and minus 2 together also, x minus 2. So we have our equation simplified as x minus 1 into x minus 2 divided by x minus 2. So this x and this x goes. So the equation that we have simplified is x minus 1. So you are told to integrate this with limits of 5 and 2. Okay? 5 and 2 dx. So we want to integrate this value. So I want to start on a fresh page on the integration. So we are integrating with the limits. Upper limit is 5, lower limit is 2 of x minus 1 dx. So when you are integrating x, just write x, then x has a silent power of 1. Add 1 to it. Remember differentiation, we were subtracting 1. But integration, you add 1. Then what you divide with it, what you add, what you get from the power, you divide with that answer that you get, with the summation of 1 plus 1, that is 2. Then minus, remember here we have 1. 1 can also be written as 1 times x raised to power 0. So 1 can be written as x raised to power 0. You add 1, then divide it by that value that you get. 0 plus 1 is 1. And now our limits here are 5 and 2. Okay, that's it. This gives us x squared divided by 2, okay, minus x raised to power 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. So therefore x power 1 is x. Limits of 5 and 2. So when you want to open this bracket to insert the limits, you simply, where there is x, you start with the upper limits. Where there is x, you replace it with 5. So you say 5 squared divided by 2 minus x here is 5. Then this value that you get, you subtract the lower limit. We have upper limit and the lower limit. So the upper limit is 5 into these values minus 2 into these values minus, you replace 2 here. So it becomes 2 squared divided by 2 minus 2. You open this up, 5 squared is 25 from your calculator, divide by 2 minus 5 minus 2 squared is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Then minus 2. 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. So 12.5 minus 5 minus 2 is 0. Therefore, 12.5 minus 5, you get 7.5. That is the value. Finally, find the value of A. That's question number 12. Find the value of A that satisfy the limits A and 0 of x squared plus 1 dx equals to 2A. I want us to be very careful here. It's just a matter of being keen. We first of all have to integrate this. So by integrating this, as I told you, you write x, integrate the first part x, then it is squared, add 1 in integration, add 1, then divide by the summation of what you get, which is 3, plus, here we have x raised to power 0. I told you any number raised to power 0 is 1, any letter raised to power 0 is 1. So x raised to power 0 plus 1 divided by 1. What do we get here? This is x cubed divided by 3 plus x raised to power 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. X raised to power 1 is just x. So these values, after integrating, you don't write dx. You just replace it with the limits of 5 and 0. And again, you don't write the integral sign because you've already integrated it. So this value equals to 2a. Again, just replace where there is x, replace with 5. So this becomes 5 cubed, 5 raised to power 3, divided by 3, plus 5. Okay. So in this case, it is not 5, it is a, sorry. This is a and 0. So we are finding the value of a. So where there is x, you write a. So it is a cubed, a raised to power 3 divided by 3, plus, this is a, not 5, a, equals to 2a. Then collect the like terms. A raised to power 3 divided by 3 equals to 2a. When a crosses the other side becomes minus a. So a raised to power 3 divided by 3 equals to 2a minus a is a. Then cross multiply by 3, cross multiply by 3, both sides. This 3 and 3 goes. Then we have a raised to power 3 equals to 3a. Then we can further simplify by dividing by a because a is common. So a and a goes. Therefore, if a divided by a raised to power 3 is like saying a times a times a. When I put dot means times. A times a times a. Divide by a equals to 3. So from here, a can cancel 1a. Then you remain with a times a, which can be written as a squared. So a squared equals to 3. If you want to find the value of a, you find the square root of 3. So a is root 3, and the square root of 3 is 1.7321. From your calculator, that is the answer. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've finished our lesson. I hope it was so enjoyable. And next time we are going to do chemistry from next week. We'll also proceed with mathematics. I'll be communicating the days. But this time round, we'll be handling mathematics topic-wise. We'll be dealing with a topic, then solving quick questions, challenges on that topic. I would like to wish you all the best and tell you that this is more reason why I told the Ministry of Education to bring the papers in my office for verification, because I'm overqualified. Thank you. God bless you all. Asanteni sana.